Thank you very much. I'll now hand the floor over to Anood, who is from our local council.
Thank you very much, James, for allowing me to follow Patrick. Seriously, thank you very much for inviting me this evening. Just to slightly correct you, actually, I'm not from the council. It's my job to represent you on the council. It's quite an important difference. So I don't represent the council. I represent the people of Riverside, and I have the great privilege of being elected as your ward councillor, along with my two colleagues, Nick and Eliza. Thank you very much for the organisation. I think you'll all agree it's a fantastic turnout this evening, and that's testament to the organisation that's already happened. I have been involved in the Kingstairs Gardens campaign and the Alfred Salter Playground campaign, so do have rather more knowledge than I ever expected I might need about sewage and tell us that this is what happens when you get involved as a councillor. This situation is really complex, I'll be honest with you, because it would have been complicated had St Martin sold to a new developer anyway. We would have had these real worries that I think you've articulated very well about the years of negotiations we've had about what we wanted for that site. Things like affordable housing, which is so important and which I see every week in my surgery. Things like the community benefits, the benefits for the schools. And so even without the Thames Water complications, having a new developer buy this site would have caused us real difficulties. And I think as a community, we need to be really clear on what benefits we want for this site and stick to our guns in terms of our negotiations with the new developers, let alone anything to do with Thames Water. Turning to the Thames Water issue, I'm very clear we do need to clean up the Thames, and I think everyone here, we all live by the river, and absolutely we want to see that. And I completely agree with Patrick, we need to do that in a way that doesn't detrimentally affect the environment in other ways. My biggest concern at the moment is the information and the conflicting information that we're getting from Thames Water. Now, to be fair to them, I think that's because they may not know a lot of the answers, but they're not doing themselves any favours by not sort of being able to answer. And certainly I've asked lots of questions and keep being told, oh, well, we've got to talk to Berkeley Homes, or, you know, we're not quite sure yet. And that's not helpful, and actually uncertainty is really damaging for a community. So I would certainly urge your committee or your group to try and get Thames Water down here with the developers, and I'm very happy to help facilitate that. I have already requested that type of meeting, and I've been speaking to the Dickens Tenants and Residents Association as well about trying to get them along. So I think we urgently need to get some facts and more information so that we really can form a view and a judgment. The other slight things that you sort of mentioned, I'm really pleased that you've clarified you don't want to be against the Kingstairs Gardens campaign, and I think it's really important that we work together. And the other thing is they've actually gathered quite a lot of information that may well be helpful to your group, so certainly working with them, and I'm sure Donna, their chair, will be really happy to do that. The point you made, David, about the Infrastructure Planning Committee, which is where this goes after Thames Water have made their decisions. One of the good things about the Infrastructure Planning Committee, the changes that the new government is bringing in, is that it was before, or is at the moment, an unelected, unaccountable body, and hopefully we will get a change where a government minister has a final say on this committee, and at least that's a politician that we can lobby and talk to and is at least accountable in some way. I think your point about talking about mitigation is really important, because if this does go ahead, we need to be united in A, what we're asking for at the end of the project, but also during the construction phase. And frustratingly, we'd had lots of conversations with St Martin's about that phase, which we will now need to be having again. So there's an awful lot of work to do, as you've said rightly. I'm really happy to do what I can as ward councillor to support you, to advise you, to ask questions of the council, of Thames Water and of the developers. So very much at your service.